Hello, everyone. It's Thursday, and we are This Week in Business. Hi, guys. How are you?
Good morning.
Afternoon.
It's the afternoon now.
It is.
So, which one of you wants to kick off today? Anthony, why don't you go? You weren't with us last week.
I will. It's been a busy couple of weeks, and one thing that we discovered when we talked to a lot of people across different businesses is that there are some common pain points. And at the moment, one of those pain points we're certainly discovering across a lot of sectors is the ability to find good staff. In fact, let's take good out of it, the ability to find staff, full stop. And it's got the marketing brain thinking, and I'm thinking, how are we going to use some of the tools that we use to find customers to find their staff? And I think sometimes as a customer, when you want to engage with the business, seeing a bit of behind the scenes is quite useful and builds a bit of level of integrity and trust there with them. Maybe, and we've had a look at across a couple of businesses that are doing a really, really good job. A lot of the time, this is the big companies, the Googles and Amazons and Facebooks who are looking to, well, take Amazon out of that, but we're looking at those companies that are looking to employ people who've got a HR department telling the story. But some local businesses we've come across who do a really good job of sharing their values, sharing the identity, sharing the genuine underpinning of their brand within their careers page and the jobs that they place out there on Seek and Facebook and elsewhere, LinkedIn. These, when you get that right, you manage to tell the story about your organisation, and you do that in an authentic kind of way. Hopefully, you're going to attract the people who resonate with that story. And if you do it even better, you'll be able to filter out those who perhaps don't like the values that your company has. If you've got a value of accountability, share that story about what accountability means to you and how people are going to be treated in the workplace. If you've got a fun, vibrant kind of place, let's share that. But it's so vital that you get that out in the various formats and it's consistent. Good option to use is perhaps a careers page within your site, within your web page, where you can share that message and share that story, because really, at the present time, in a lot of businesses we're speaking for, the number one thing they're competing for is not business, but staff. And if you're going to have to compete with them, you've really got to put that marketing brain on and think about the story that you're telling and the people who you want that story to resonate. And if you can, help that by making it a bit of a filter to discourage the wrong people from wanting to work with you, definitely go down that road as well.
So, Anthony, you shared a story at breakfast last week about the apply button on Facebook jobs. Do you want to share that?
Yeah, it's still a conspiracy theory, but I'm happy to explore it. And I'd love to be corrected by somebody out there who's perhaps in the employment sector who can tell me I'm wrong. But we recently advertised a job. We had a lot of applicants, and we had a lot of applicants who just clicked the apply button on Facebook. And so we got a message saying, Kingsley Smith has applied for this job. We didn't have Kingsley, but if you did, and those applicants just had clicked on the apply button. And it got my thinking, why would, and I messaged them back, are you interested? Can you tell us a little bit more? And you kind of look through their profile as you do stalking people these days, and you look at it and go, they're not even remotely qualified or interested in this kind of job. Why have they clicked apply? And the only reason I could come up with was that perhaps that meets their mutual obligation requirements under Centrelink, so they can continue receiving their job seeker payments. Now, I don't know if it's true or not and whether you've got to do more than that, but if you imagine you could go into your your regular meeting with Centrelink and say, I've applied for these 4 jobs, tick, I'm done, I'd be pretty disappointed that clicking an apply button would count towards your mutual obligation.
Especially an apply button on Facebook, of all places.
Pretty weak, isn't it?
It's very strange. Anyway, that's good. I really like the storytelling of jobs. Obviously, we don't go looking for jobs, but for those that are advertising jobs, you know, the storytelling, I really like that idea, and giving the people the image and what it's going to look like for them to work for you, because you're definitely going to get the right people then.
It reminds me of having it pointed out to me that real estate agents have an issue in the sense that they have to do two sets of marketing. They obviously have to sell the house for their customer. They also have to, in a sense, market to get the house, the stock in the first place, to get the listing. And it makes me realise, listening to what Anthony's saying, that in a sense, all businesses have sort of got that problem, because the equivalent for a lot of us is the employees. You've got to also market to get the employee in order to get the work done, in order to be able to sell whatever it is you sell. It's sort of, perhaps we aren't confronted with it as sort of directly, constantly, like a real estate agent is, but at the moment, with where it is, the labour market, we sort of are, that you have to be marketing on two fronts.
You're really doing that connection there between two separate places, and that's really the role that a business plays, largely, is connecting, you know, a solution with a problem.
Awesome. Now, Kingsley, you've got a couple of things for us. It's an important time of the month for a lot of people.
Yes, so this is, in terms of, if you're going to get JobKeeper 2, then I guess there's 4 days left. It's 2 working days, depending on how much of a fanatic your accountant is. But you do need to get your application in for JobKeeper 2 by the end of October. We are certainly seeing, and certainly even talking to other accountants from other firms and things, that, you know, the vast majority of businesses that were getting JobKeeper 1, certainly here in Western Australia, are not qualifying for JobKeeper 2 by having to have an entire quarter down, as opposed to just a month. The only thing I would say to people is that if you've quickly gone into your Xero, your MyHub or whatever, and had a look to see, is my quarter just been down 30% on where it was same time last year, and the answer to that's no. There are a couple of other tests that could still possibly get you through. They're pretty complicated, and you probably are going to need your accountant to help. But if broadly speaking, if your business has been growing quite rapidly over the last 12 months, there's another test that can be done that you might get through on. And then the other one, which you may be aware of because you would have had to have done it to get JobKeeper 1 if you're in that situation, is that if your business is pretty new and it wasn't established sort of this time last year, then there's a test to help that one as well, where again you might mathematically get through it. So if you are sort of needing JobKeeper 2 and you're just doing that quick comparison on the main test, you don't get there, either have a look yourself to see if you can get through, or talk to your accountant, because there are, I'd say for most people, 1, maybe even 2 other possibilities. So have a look at that. It does also mean, the other implication for other businesses, which we've talked a bit about before, is that, of course, a lot of the easy money is about to get turned off. So most businesses in Western Australia that were getting JobKeeper 1 are going to go down to 0, and they would have got their last reimbursement for wages in this month. There'll be no reimbursement for them next month. So the easy money's turned off there. And I know Anthony talked to us earlier in the break from pointing out, of course, to the cashflow boost has had its last round now as well. So there's no more boost money coming. So all the easy money has ended for most businesses that were on JobKeeper and Boost in WA. So next month could be an interesting month. People need to watch that fairly closely. Other things, I know Louise was talking about some businesses that on the cash flow front where they've hit trouble, I guess particularly in an early stage business. If you're in a contracting sort of business, one of the challenges there is you often grow sort of one customer or client at a time. You got one, and then you go and get another fairly large customer, the next one up to sort of grow or replace, and it does make cash flow exceptionally hard in some businesses I'm not saying anything anyone else, but contracting can be really peaks and troughs. So you are going to need to do your forecasting very well there. Indeed, if I could work it probably is a classic plug for our seminar next week of the stress testing your finances, because the contractors find themselves in that situation more often than probably anyone, and knowing where your revenues drop to a point where you're now in a degree of danger and trouble before you get there is crucial, so that you know when you've got to do things. Because the other thing you'll find, if you talk to people that have gone through a really tough cash flow crunch, almost invariably, particularly if they were of a size and employing people, the thing that shocks people is how long it takes to turn the ship around. So from the point where you're hang, I've got to do something here, and particularly if you're going to have to let go of some people and so forth, the time it takes from having done that and your cash flow position starting to improve can be 2 months or something like that, and that can get pretty scary as it's sort of your cash reserves. You've got about 8 weeks of cash reserves, and it's going to take 2 months to turn the ship. So being able to do the cash flow forecasting in front of that and knowing when you need to move's crucial. The other bit's fixing that problem to some degree is hard, in a sense, the obvious answer is you need a greater diversity of customers and clients, and easily said by me, the accountant. People like Anthony have to go out and come up with a genius in how to find those other customers.
So you've actually touched on something which is a story of a business that I came across many years ago, a local business in the southwest here, who had grown substantially and had 90% of their business came from one customer, which at the time didn't seem like a catastrophe until, unbeknownst to any of us, this particular business, not the client, but the other business folded and went into liquidation with debts outstanding to everyone. And of course, with going through the liquidation process, you may get 5 cents in the dollar 3 years later. But the moral of the story, I guess they learned from it, was that you're better off having a smaller business with a lot of customers than a bigger one with just one or two customers. And keeping that diversity is really, really important. And that's, I guess, a marketing role, is to look at it and say, always keep an eye on your customer relationship management, or even if you don't have a CRM system, be looking at your Xero to see where your revenue is coming from, and keep that track to make sure you have that diversity, if at all possible, across sectors, but if not sectors, at least businesses within a sector.
Yeah. And it is now. I'm sorry, Louise.
Sorry, I was just going to say, even in my own business, like I know that if I only have 1 or 2 customers, that it's not enough to keep going, and that I've got to continually go out and look for that work. But it's also about, it's not necessarily about having those long-term contracts in place all the time. It's sometimes about having a few long terms and also chasing the short-term stuff to give those little boosts when you've got those peaks and troughs in the cash flow.
Yeah. I think you also see with the examples that Anthony's talking about, you can sometimes see the hard ones are where it can even be one link even further back. So it's not that 90% customer that's gone broke, it's that 90% customer's customer that's gone broke. and then it just feeds down the chain, and you don't see it. But hopefully most people can see that, face value having that kind of concentration is going to be a problem. And the software programs are very good now in terms of you can bring up your sales records very quickly and sort of pie chart it and see, I get 30% of my business from X, Y, Z, and another 40 from A, B, C. And so it may well be that you can sort of see, well, maybe I'm not so exposed just on X, Y, Z, but if it gets hard for X, Y, Z and A, B, C, then I probably have a serious problem. Yeah. So hopefully it doesn't stop you. It's not perfect proof to stop it happening to you, but at least you know the situation's there, I guess, and consequently hopefully you can do something to mitigate it.
And that's what we're going to talk about all next week, next Wednesday, 4 p.m. at Capel Shire offices. We'll put a mud map together with where the room is so that people can easily find it. But it is free for our subscribers, so make sure you grab your ticket.
Yeah.
That's it. So I just had one thing that I wanted to share with people. We've obviously been doing the 5-day Support Local Business Challenge over on our main Facebook page. I have been to a few of your businesses. I went and visited Steve today at Bunbury Geotechnical. I also visited MJ Goods on Tuesday. I'm trying to go and see one more in preparation for tomorrow. Which is wonderful to get our subscribers, businesses out there to our followers on our main page. But one thing when I was filming at Steve's this morning is I let him in on a little hint that I use. I use an app called Teleprompter. It is just called Teleprompter. I'll share the link in the comments. But what I do, because I only film on my phone because I just go on the run and I do this because lots of us do. And I actually use the Teleprompter app. So I have all my notes written out. Basically what I'm going to do, I stare at the camera and the screen just rolls with what I'm saying. So I don't usually mess it up. I just say what's there. And sometimes I get my words a bit muddled if I'm rushing, but, it just helps a lot. So if you're someone who does videos or you want to do videos for your business, I highly recommend using the Teleprompter app. It's so easy. It's free to use. You just type up your scripts in it. You can even import your scripts from a Word document, and it's very easy to have on the go.
Just got to remember not to keep going with the battery low warning that comes up.
I don't have that problem, Kingsley. My phone's always charged because, I've got a charger in my desk that I just plug my phone into my desk. I've got a charger in the car. I've got chargers everywhere. I'm this person that I will always have a charger nearby. So if you ever need one, just let me know. I've got plenty.
Okay.
I guess on that, it must be challenging there to write as you speak rather than write as you write. On it. So I guess that's something where you've really got to think about the wording that goes up there to make sure you don't sound too much like a robot. But if you can kind of get that writing the way you'd speak, it will flow a lot more naturally.
Yes, I definitely take a few takes usually, one or two, I've started off and I hear what I sound like and I go, oh, that's not right. So, nothing needs to be perfect first time around, but also remember it doesn't need to be perfect for the final product either. Otherwise, you'll be there all day taking 100 takes yourself. So, yes. Anyway, that's all we've got today, unless you guys have anything else.
No, that is all from me.
All right, fantastic. And just go and answer the phone.
Yeah.
All right, thanks everyone. We will see you next week. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.